Case study: the 2004 NHL lockout by Regina Pierre-Boney. The NHL 2004 lockout. The two negotiating parties are the league, which is the NHL, was represented by Gary Bettman, and the NHL Players Association, which represents the players, whose executive director is Bob Goodnow. The league's been trying to get with the Players Association to negotiate a bargaining agreement for the last 2 years, since it's been extended twice since 1995. The league announced the lockout on September 15th, 2004, which is the day the bargaining agreement expired. And on September 16th, the lockout started. The lockout lasted throughout the whole 2004 season, which was 301 days, and they lost a total of 1,230 games were not played. And the bargaining agreement was finally reached on July 21st, 2005. On the league side, they wanted a maximum salary cap that was linked to the league revenue, which was dubbed the cost certainty, which was the main reason why there was a lockout in 2004. The other issues ranged from harsher fines for players' misconduct, revenue sharing, number of games played, to minimum salaries, to bonuses. The league didn't want the salaries to exceed 55% of the revenue of the NHL. The leagues also proposed a salary cap of $42.5 million per team later during the negotiations. As for the players, the NHL wanted a salary based on market condition. They wanted to guarantee a fixed percentage of revenue as players' wages. The other issues were reducing the amount of scheduled games, rollback percentage of player salaries, and reducing the age of unrestricted free agents. Both parties had backup plans if the negotiation fails, which is also known as the BATNA. The NHL paid their 730 union players $5,000 to $10,000 per month for loss of wages during the lockout. And the league had a $300 million war chest, which each team contributing $10 million. This war chest started in 1998 just in case there was a lockout, so the league had a backup plan since 1998. There was also negative emotions from the side of the NHL Players Association because they didn't trust the account of the revenue earned that the league was stating that they received, whether it was gains or losses. And that was made clear by a Forbes magazine study that showed the discrepancy between the league, what the league stated, and what the actual facts, for example, as lost revenue for 2002 and 2003 season. The only dirty tricks I could think of was that one of the coaches for the Thrashers stated that to the Boston Herald that if they can reach an agreement by next year, replacement players will be used, which could be used as a way to force the hands of the players to reach an agreement because they don't want to lose 2 years in a row of not playing and losing of salaries. Both parties showed affiliation with the fan, the sport, and everyone affected by the lockout, especially their employees and endorsements and sponsors as well. Even Goodnow and Bettman, who was at odds, Goodman stated how every day that this thing continues, we don't think it's good for the game. And Bettman stated that this is a tragedy for the players, and their careers are short, and this money and opportunity they'll never get back. Both showed empathy for not only the fans, but the players and everybody affected by the 2004 lockout. The couple of things that went right with the negotiating process. The thing I would say would be, even with the lockout or even before the lockout, that the parties were both willing to sit down and talk to each other and reach some concession, even though they didn't come to an agreement initially. They worked this deal for 2 years, and nobody got so frustrated to the point where they got off the table until they waited till the day that the bargaining expired before they decided to have a lockout. Both parties also recognize the damage that this lockout could do to the games and how it might cost the fans, the sponsors, and the employees. Both parties also took into account how the game and the lockout would affect how the fans feel about the NHL. Currently, the NHL at that time was not big. It was like the fourth in the country after football, baseball, basketball. So they already had issues with bringing fans to the seats. So being out of commission for a year, they both parties understand that this might do some damage to the league as we know it. The wrong thing about the negotiating process that even with 2 years before the lockout even happened, they can come up with an agreement. And even though they were willing to budget everything, but the key issue of cost certainty was the main reason why both parties left the table. The other downside was the amount of publicity this bargaining negotiation was getting because it was getting closer and closer and closer to the deadline. So both parties had time spent in front of the media, and they used that to as a way to go back and forth with a little war of words amongst them, which was not a very good thing to keep negotiation going. Also, owners had words for the executive director, Bob Goodnow, of the NHLPA, and owners, like I said before, the owners of the Thrasher was stating that they would get replacement players, which is not good for negotiation at all. So in order for this to stop going on, the league had to institute a gag order for their owners. The agreement eventually came up on July 20, 2005, which is after the Stanley Cup could have been played. So basically, they lost a whole year of the whole season. What was agreed to was a salary cap that was calculated each year that with a player guarantee of 54% of the total NHL revenue. Also, value of existing contracts rollback of 24%. Contract for a lockout year was wiped out. Players can't earn more than 20% of team salaries cap. Age decrease of unrestricted free agent from 31 to 27 or 7 years of playing in the league. Revenue sharing between top and bottom teams, tighter rookie salary cap, and drug testing, including the NHL players participating in the 2006 and 2010 Winter Olympics. The lasting effects is the increase in average player salary, increase of goals, and decrease of fights due to rules change, the increase of game attendance, concussion and safety protocols were adapted, better draft lotteries, and rebranding of the NHL. Also, the best thing about this lockout would be my Blackhawks coming into the top of the league when in 2004 they were at the bottom, not even capable of making the playoffs. Thank you.